Welcome back to Les Schwab Tire Center's Outdoor GPS. It's time for Owin's Field Report, sponsored by Les Schwab Tire Centers.
Now, my field report for yesterday is pretty simple. 3 hours trying to get into the Pacific Northwest Sportsman Show. I don't think it'll be that way today, but it was certainly crowded yesterday. It was one of those things that I was like, yes, when I was talking to Eva, I'm like, I don't know if we're coming back here on Saturday. Although I'll give everyone that kind of does that, I'll give you some advice. Please have traffic enforcement, please. Folks that can actually direct traffic. I'm not going to get into it any more than that. I'm sure that there's plenty of it out there on social media about it. But anyway, biggest thing that everyone's really paying attention to right now, of course, is steelhead fishing. Lots and lots of questions yesterday that I had fielded from some of the folks who were around were all about spring Chinook. So there's a number of things that we're going to be covering the next 2, 3, 4, 6 months. But steelhead is what a lot of people are paying attention to right now. Definitely folks are paying attention to our ocean conditions so that they can get out and make those groceries, like you saw a couple of those photos here just a little bit ago. But when you're talking about steelhead, it's all about water conditions, and it's been no water for weeks and weeks. And it looks like things are going to change, but these gauges, forecasts, have been very suspect at best. I have no idea what's going on with them. Some of them are forecasting huge bounces and none of it's materializing. Some of them are showing very small bounces and they're well above it. In our handful of rivers that we're going to show you, we might catch some of those. We'll take a look right now. Let's take a look at it. And the Columbia, not a big deal. Nobody's really paying a lot of attention to that right now, but at the very least you can see it is expected to move a little bit and then drop back down, which I find very interesting with the amount of rain that we got coming, but it all depends on what's going on the east side. But as you look at the Willamette, a lot of folks very, very interested in this right now. It was kind of a little bit of a talk yesterday about that drop-off and folks getting out there in the latter part of February to try to make that unicorn fish happen. The question that I got at least a couple of times, what should I be fishing with? And of course, 360s and all that stuff, and, you know, certainly a fantastic technique, but typically early on, you know, you're going to be trolling herring, depending on the parts of the river that you're going to be in, prawns on the anchor kind of thing. But certainly, it will be interesting to see how things kind of pan out for those that are going to go after that. I can promise you that's not going to be me. I'm going to be floating all the way through April. At least that's my plan this year. Now, you can see this actually did change since yesterday for my home river. It was expected to get into the 14s. Now it's expected to make it into the 15s. And it was expected to bounce yesterday. And you can see here they did actually change it overnight to start going up today with this melt off. And then we got a bunch of rain that's coming. We're going to check in with Peyton Major here in a little bit and find out how much rain we yet still have coming. But taking a look at some of the coastal rivers, they are also showing a little bit more of a bounce later on, though, of course. But it wasn't expected to get any higher than the low 5s. So now it's looking like it might make it into the 6s. But it's been interesting how these gauges have been the last handful. Even they're confused. Interesting all by itself. But still, this week, no matter what happens, if it takes a little longer for the water to show up or not, this is the situation that we look forward to, right? After having a lot of low water for a long, long time, those fish, in theory, hang out either in tributaries before they make it into where they're ultimately going, or even offshore. So this can be a very interesting week. I don't want to jinx it. I will be out daily, as long as I can hold up. We'll see how all that works out. But again, this week, if you've been kind of holding off, waiting for good conditions, these are the conditions that we've been waiting for, so we'll see ultimately how that pans out. And if you want to get something cool, send Jason an email over there at Procure. Yesterday, they were absolutely buried. No matter what location they were at, fishermen's in particular, they were hammered. Steve was fielding questions constantly about different scents and making sure that everybody got what it was that they were really looking for. So I thought that was interesting. But you might be able to win yourself a free pack of what I would call the perfect steelhead scents. And out of all of those three that you see there, the steelhead combo is my go-to pretty much every time, and then it would be the shrimp krill. Just throwing that out there. Don't overlook sand shrimp, though. Just kind of getting that out there. Now, let's go, if we can, let's check in with Peyton Major and see if anything's changed with our upcoming forecast for rain. And it changed on our river level forecast. Does that mean that it changed on how much moisture we might have coming in?
Yes, it did. We got more moisture. So very good news there. Yesterday we kind of had 2 rounds of rain, one in the morning, one kind of in the later evening, but still didn't equate to much. I mean, most of us about 1/10, maybe 2/10 of an inch of rain. Scappoose almost 3/10 there. Looking at our radar, finally got some more showers arriving, and it's all due to an area low pressure out to our west. So this is sending kind of bands of moisture our way. Not really high coverage at this hour, but I think by the time we get to the afternoon, we're going to start to see things pick up in both coverage and intensity, and finally get some good beneficial rain in here. I do want to mention Eastern Oregon, maybe a little wintry mix today. Could see some flurries, a little bit of freezing rain at times. So let's check out our future view forecast. Here's 3 o'clock later on this afternoon. Notice a lot more rain there. As we continue into those overnight hours, and especially early Monday, that's when we're going to have some good soaking rainfall. Hopefully that's going to last most of the day. I think by around dinner time, we'll start to see that kind of dissipate slowly from west to east. Our rain forecast, this is just for today. We're looking at 3/10 of an inch to about 1/2 an inch. Locally higher amounts are possible. And then also when we factor in the next few days, which are also going to be wet, I think we could get a good 1.5 inches in the metro area. Elsewhere, around an inch. McMinnville could be a little over that point, over 1.5 inches along the coastline. So this is all very good beneficial rain. We are at a pretty significant deficit, about an inch deficit rather. Winter storm warning is active for the Cascades and a winter weather advisory for the upper Hood River Valley. That's basically just saying that we could see a little light dusting this morning because the Hood River Valley tends to hold on to some colder air a little bit longer. So Tuesday, I think we're going to start out a little dry, turn more rainy. Another rainy day Wednesday, and then maybe even another round of showers by next weekend. So this is great. Hopefully we kind of make up that deficit that we've been in for a lot of January and February. We don't have drought, and we don't really have any flooding concerns. So I guess that's good news. But yeah, hopefully we change kind of our whole forecast this week, and it looks like we will. And it's going to be warm 50s too.
Well, I can tell you, looking at 57 degrees in a week from today, that's very interesting.
I know. We could be near 60. I was looking at some extended things, and I was like, dang, the end of February could be really warm. So we'll see.
That kind of like springtime weather. Peyton, as always, we appreciate the info. Have a great week, okay?
You too.
All right, let's go ahead and take Phil from Canby. He's got a question or a comment about Les Schwab. Phil, what's going on, sir?
Well, elk hunting up in north of Ukiah. I was driving on a flat tire, and 2 guys from the Dalles stopped me, and they were excellent. I called in about this a couple of months ago, but they changed my tire for me, which I was forever thankful. But that's not the end of the story. I didn't feel comfortable with no spare pulling a 30-foot trailer back to Portland. So I stopped at the Les Schwab there in the south part of Pendleton to get a replacement tire. The only question they asked was, how in the hell did you destroy this tire with that much tread on it? And I said, well, the only thing I can think of was I was still driving on it. In 45 minutes, I was back on the road with a brand new 10-ply all-terrain tire from Les Schwab. No fee, no charge. 45 minutes it took, and I was back on the road, and I'll be forever thankful to Les Schwab also for that.
Very cool. That's obviously, maybe not obvious for some, but Les Schwab is extremely well known for their warranties and how they take care of their customers for a reason. That's one of the reasons why they've been around and as big as they are. Phil, great story, sir. Thanks for the heads up on that. And hopefully all of you out there don't run across that same situation that Phil ran into. But if Les Schwab is available for you, take advantage of it when you can. Also, we've got Bruce from Woodland on the line. He's got a comment about the Washington Department of Fish and Wildlife's appointees. Now, this could get very interesting, everyone. Bruce, what have you got for everyone?
I'm watching the show. It looks different here. The 9-member body that oversees the Washington Department of Fish and Wildlife and has the final say on species protection and hunting and fishing seasons, among other things, it also has the power to hire or fire the Washington Department of Fish and Wildlife director. And lately, a study by the University of Washington's William D. Ruckelshaus Center found that the commission was, quote, dysfunctional, and that many concerns with the appointment process. Anyway, so when Governor Inslee left, he appointed a couple people really quickly just before he left. And so now they've put the brakes on that, but it needs to be they need to do it differently than they do it, rather than just appointing people that probably aren't qualified by the governor. I'm sorry.
You mentioned dysfunctional. Without getting too far into the weeds, and Ryan, if I start getting myself in trouble, please feel free to just go out. There's no question that Washington Department of Fish and Wildlife is dysfunctional, okay? I don't know if it can be all the way through their committees, or excuse me, their commissions, and of course the folks that run the place. But when they're allowing this kind of, okay, I need to stop. I'm going to go ahead and get myself in a little bit. I agree, Bruce. There's certainly a significant amount of concern with how they're managing the fisheries in Washington. Oregon has issues. Everybody's got issues, okay? Washington's got issues. But they are by far, I mean, they're so far off kilter. I mean, they are completely out of whack with what everybody wants in their state and what we would like to see here on the Columbia. So that's about as far as I'm going to get into it there. But Bruce, we all feel your pain, man. What they have allowed to happen on the Columbia River when you're talking about commercial fisheries, in particular for spring Chinook, is disgraceful, period. There is no other way to put it. Unfortunately, you have to vote the right way, people. It just is what it is. All right, cut to a break. When we come back, we're going to have a video clip for you from Fisherman's Marine. The concept, the thought that everybody has is if they miss the show, they're going to miss the deals. That's not necessarily true. We'll line you up on that in just a minute.
Outdoor GPS is brought to you by P-Line, because we fish, by Hawken Fishing, perfection in fishing gear, and by Haxton's Canvas and Upholstery, the trusted name of the Pacific Northwest.